Amnesty Office flags off modern fitted cluster farm for empowered delegates. Community support grows for Amnesty program. Plus, fact file, tidbits, and more. A very good day to you out there, and thank you so much for joining the program. It has been months of inspirational stories since Reintegration 30,000 officially kicked off, with many of you getting to understand and appreciate some of the short and long-term objectives of the Presidential Amnesty Program. For the ones just joining us for the first time, this is as good as any opportunity to get abreast of what the Amnesty Program entails and what is being achieved across the Niger Delta region and by extension in Nigeria. We do have our regular segments ready for your viewing, and I hope that in the next couple of minutes, you will become a disciple of positive thinking that inspires positive life changes. Let's begin our segment, A Changed Story. Our changed story is a delegate from Imo State whose life not only transformed for the better, but has become a proponent of change. He rose from cultism to become an enterprising furniture maker, courtesy of the Presidential Amnesty Program.
My name is Ngoko Tubo Nnabugo Williams from Etekuru community, Ohajiebema, Imo State. We have a group of boys called Invaders before from there I joined another one called Aslan. From there I joined other things. From there I make some kind of trouble with people. I fight with people. I use some kind of weapon with people. If you challenge us, we battle you to the end. That is the essence. I'm telling you that we play with people, but nobody challenge our group as of that time. Ihe mere kwara wuna ihe eji eme ihe ndị ahụ. Mmanụ nọ n'obodo anyị, mmanụ a na-akpọ oil, crude oil. Abe buru ya la, ana amaghị ebe ọ na-aga. So I decide ya na ọhụrụ ma enehwane ihe zuru anyị na a ga-agbapushi mmanụ ndị agbapushi ya some, agbapushi ya many. We vandalize like at least ocean well. After that, the government intervened and said that we should stop and come and blaze and surrender our weapons, because we deal with some weapons. When we surrender the weapons, federal government now empower us with no violence. Nobody should do violence. I went to Abubara. They trained me for no violence. How we live life without violence. How we interact with people without violence. How you can settle problems without violence. So I learned those things. When I came back, I used some of them, at least I have changing of life. As of when I learned non-violence training, I changed my life instant. posted me to Lagos under this furniture. They posted me to Benin under this furniture. They trained me over 1 year and 6 months. I learned furniture very well. As I'm talking to you, when people invite me for outside work, I perform very well. Even, like this my samples. When I go to, to furnish your house, I will, do perfectly more than this. So the work, I so much enjoy it. I so much enjoy this work because I know that I can perform. I can perform in terms of, having upholstery chair and some this thing, foreign bed and foreign seat. Since I started this work, 1 or 2 persons have already graduated from my hand. Like what this person that you see in my shop is maybe by the ending of this year is still graduate. I will still, it's not steady something. I will still be doing something. Maybe 1 or 2 persons will still come and meet me again. But I have 1 applicant now with me. Since I've been joining Amnesty, in fact, I have achieved. I am appreciating them. I'm saying thank you for them because it's not easy for a young man like me. By now, I have a 6 children with a 5-bedroom flat with other some kind movement I have. So I so much appreciate them because without like this, I wouldn't have all these things. So I so much appreciate that they have already, they have already embraced me very well,
Nabugo Williams is one delegate among thousands of others who were trained in vocations which would fast-track their reintegration back into society. Of course, there are dozens of specialized areas and fields where the Presidential Amnesty Office has invested hugely in the development of delegates, and these trainings are paying off. On this episode of the program, we will take a look at the Amnesty Program training on computer numerical control and agro-tool fabrication. This is coming in our segment, Insight. While most of the vocational trainings under the Presidential Amnesty Program are target-driven, some are specially designed to help close existing gaps and boost value addition. And agriculture provides a plethora of opportunities. The quest by government to explore potentials in commercial agriculture has continued to propel the Amnesty Office to plunge delegates into agro-allied industries. And training partnership is key. Welcome to the Scientific Equipment Development Institute, SEDI in Enugu State. This institute is a unit of the National Agency for Scientific and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, supervised by the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. It is also providing the Presidential Amnesty Office with expertise for its next generation of agro workers, delegates with skills to provide services along the agriculture secondary value chain. In essence, the Amnesty Office is pushing the frontiers by helping delegates acquire practical knowledge in the development of indigenous technology to add value to local production.
So many organizations in this country, like NMPC, international companies or organizations like UNIDO and UNICEF, have to a very large extent patronized the local content initiative of this establishment. Why? Because we were able to develop a technology that competes favorably with the international standards. And everything we've been able to do to assist the local industrial sector in this regard have been proven to be at par with international standards. And so we received the patronage, and everybody that has come here for one thing or the other has solely depended on what technologies we can offer.
A total of 48 delegates are currently undergoing training at the Institute. These delegates are the harbingers poised to blaze the trail in agro-processing as far as the amnesty program is concerned. The training at the Scientific Equipment Development Institute is, however, spread across 3 intrinsic yet delicately linked divisions. The first is the Computer Numerical Command Department, which is essentially all about precision in molding and fabrication. The bulk of the delegates are, however, engaged in agro-welding and fabrication, which is the second department under the training. The third is electrical engineering, seeming far removed from other trainings, but connected nonetheless.
What they're trying to do is to bring up modernization in whatever thing we're doing, to see that the end product can stand the value with what we have outside the country. So if you are fabricating, definitely electricity is needed, and with the advent of computers, those of them in the ICT can actually give their input even during fabrication for them to have precision.
Though each division under the training program here in SEDI is important, it would appear that more emphasis is being given to the section on agro-welding and fabrication. A number of reasons make this imperative. The training in agro-welding and fabrication is at the core of the partnership between the Amnesty Office and the Scientific Equipment Development Institute. The ultimate goal of this partnership is to help grow a new generation of youth with expertise to fabricate local processing technology for agricultural produce across the country.
If, for instance, especially in the riverine area, somebody has a fish farm, after harvesting, the residue, the remaining that are not sold, these are trainees, we have the capacity to develop dryers that will dry those fishes in good time and enhance their quality and be able to preserve them for further sales or for export. Also in agriculture, those that are into cassava farming, these are delegates who have the skills to be able to create equipment that will aid them in either preserving their products or adding value to their products for secondary use.
Another unique and rather fascinating prospect of this particular training is the planned establishment of agro-products processing parks in 4 Niger Delta states: Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River. These parks would be strategically planned and will form part of the empowerment packages for these delegates at the end of their training.
The empowerment aspect of this will be done in conjunction with SEDI, the consultants. They're going to determine the kind of equipment that they need in their locality to function. And whilst they're in their locality to function, with the SEDI knowledge and contact, they will identify what kind of equipment that will best serve their need.
The training at the Scientific Equipment Development Institute is scheduled for 2 months, with a post-training orientation workshop on business relations already designed and planned for successful delegates. Thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Reintegration 30,000, a series on the activities of the Presidential Amnesty Program. This week on Talking Point, we are joined by a former president of the foremost pressure group, the Joy Youth Council, and an active member of the civil society. He is Udengs Eradiri. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Let's begin this conversation by asking you to give an insight into what the Presidential Amnesty Program means to the Niger Delta, particularly in terms of curbing violence and fast-tracking development.
Okay, just a brief history. You realize that the amnesty program came as a result of government's concerted effort towards resolving the conflicts in the Niger Delta that have spanned over 50 years. Because of the insurgency, the agitations that didn't allow for a conducive environment for companies to do business, and of course for government to develop the Niger Delta region, the then late President Yar'Adua decided that he was going to grant amnesty to agitators in order for there to be a conducive environment in the regions. And so far so good. The amnesty program have actually lived up to expectation, even though there have been its own teething problems here and there, funding and things like that. But overall, we think that the program have actually served the purpose.
In your opinion, what challenges still subsist in the drive to reaching a balance between the federal government and the people of the region?
Well, you see, amnesty itself that was proclaimed was just a stopgap measure to a problem that was arising at that time. It is not to say that the amnesty itself would be the eventual solution to the issues of underdevelopment in the Niger Delta. No. Those issues will have to do with restructuring and reorganizing the Nigerian management process, if I should use that word. So for me, I think that part of the problem is that governments, especially at the state and local governments, and also the IOCs at the local level, are yet to understand that the entire amnesty is a package not only for government, but also for the states to participate, not only for federal government, because so far so good, federal government is living up to their expectation. So what I'm trying to say today is that the state governments, the IOCs, and of course the federal government must be in synergy. Federal government have trained through the amnesty program. Today you see a lot of pressure on that program is because the states are failing, the IOCs are failing. So everybody see the amnesty office as the one that will deal with all the issues. Whereas that is not supposed to be the case. The case should be that while the federal government is doing its bit, the states are doing their bit, the IOCs are also doing. So when the amnesty office train, then the states also acknowledge those that have been trained, absorb them in their states, because states also lack a lot of capacity in terms of running state governments in Nigeria today. The IOCs that are doing the business, that also suffered from the crisis, should, as a matter of policy, make a percentage available every year's budget to say in employment, we are going to employ 5%, in business, we are going to dedicate 5%, in contracting, we are going to dedicate 5%. To support the amnesty program. And I think that federal government should take it as a policy and breathe it down the necks of IOCs. In any case, if you are coming to do business in Nigeria, the government has the prerogative to set the rules, and no company will come and do otherwise. But for common sense sake, I think that if, as a company, my activity have led to all this conflict and I see that I'm going to be losing money, and then there's a program training people, why not use that opportunity to absorb them? So for me, that is the problem that is also creating the pressure that is affecting the federal government amnesty program per se.
On a final note, what are your expectations in the coming years with respect to the implementation of the presidential amnesty program?
Well, if you say expectation, am I actually expecting anything? No, I wouldn't say I'm expecting anything positive. Let me say, I'm not expecting anything other than government sitting up to be responsible to that program in terms of funding. Today, one of the greatest challenges of this country is in the area of agriculture. How do we fine-tune this program so that it can suit the agricultural needs of the country? Not the one that we just say, okay, let's go and train people for 3 months and then churn them out. No, it must be critically looked into and ensure that when we are going to be training for agriculture, it must be that kind of agriculture that will add value, will create employment, and of course stimulate the economy for growth. So for me, the office must begin to look at it and say, let us revisit needs assessment. What does the country need? What is particular to the Niger Delta, where some of these people come from? Even in their communities, what is particular to the community where I live and the community where candidate B lives? So that while we are going to be training, we must train in those areas that will be easy for the person to get employment, easy for the person to integrate his activities into his society and, of course, create wealth. The economy of Nigeria today is gearing towards agriculture. You can see what's happening in the north. There are a lot of people who are no longer riding okadas on the street. They are going back to farms because the agricultural policies are actually reaching out to those at that community level. How do we transform that? Also using the vehicle like the amnesty to create that kind of engagement for the young people that are teeming in the region and use it to set example in the new Nigeria that we're talking about.
Mr. Radiri, it has been a delight hearing your honest opinion on some of these issues. We hope to bring you back sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
Again, thank you so much for coming on the program. Udengs Radiri is a former president of the foremost pressure group, the Joy Youth Council, and remains an active member of the civil society. Time now for our segment, PAP in Recap. The Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta and Coordinator of Presidential Amnesty Program, Brigadier General Paul Buru, has enjoined international operating companies in the Niger Delta to join hands with government in curbing youth restiveness and unemployment. He made the comments at the official handover ceremony of the first integrated cluster farm to a cooperative of 20 beneficiaries of the Presidential Amnesty Program who recently concluded their training at the Songhai Farms, Port Harcourt.
You start from the grassroots and then you keep moving on. The next progression is processing, and the next is packaging, and then the other will be marketing. It's a complete value chain of agriculture. A lot more people will be employed in this direction. And again, we will not be importing food.
The model farm has 30 ponds, one run of earthen pond, 5,000 bird poultry including broiler and layers, free range as well as cropping and processing sections. It also includes an administrative and sales office, 2 feed stores, another 2 implement stores and a control room. In the meantime, the Amnesty Program Coordinator, Brigadier General Buru, has advocated community partnership in the reintegration of former agitators into civil society. He made the appeal during a courtesy visit to the palace of the traditional ruler of Georgetown, Okrika, River State, Chief Akuro Richard George VI. General Buru said the amnesty program is committed to reforming and training those who have willingly embraced the initiative, and that some level of responsibility lies with the communities to accept repentant and reformed armed agitators.
If we don't engage them, they will come to us to ask for money. Whenever it was since 3 days, 2 days now, it is their right to ask because we are their father. You have to look for them. You have to take care of them. Bring your wealth of experience to bear for them. You are a lawyer, provide some space for them to see how they can feed through your law knowledge. If you are a soldier man like me, bring that soldier knowledge to see how you can provide space for them to also engage themselves in that way of soldiering.
And lastly, wife of Ondo State Governor Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu has extended her cancer awareness advocacy to the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta. Mrs. Akeredolu is seeking for partnerships to raise awareness on lifestyle modification that could help curb cancer cases in Nigeria, particularly breast cancer among the women folk.
The general public should also come in to support this laudable effort. It's very, very laudable, and I'm very grateful to God Almighty that you are championing it.
The Ondo State First Lady was accompanied on the visit by other members of the Breast Cancer Crowd Support Funding Initiative. The group is hoping to raise an initial 200 million naira for breast cancer treatment for vulnerable and indigent women. This is where we draw the curtain on this episode of the program. Do join us next week for another interesting package. Please endeavor to visit our various social media platforms to make your contributions and comments. And never forget this, Amnesty works. I am Stella Inameti.